Jeff Paterson. Jeff, you've been a part of the evil media out here in Vancouver for quite some time now. What's your reaction to all this stuff from the weekend about, what a tough market to play in?
Well, first of all, Noah Juulsen's socks look incredible dangling behind you there. The studio looks great, by the way. Congrats. And now I'm thinking to myself, Harm, you do have some work to do here, but there's an opportunity. Like this offseason, Canucks Convo should run some contest to get a viewer to come in and paint a mural behind you. Like let them do all the work, take that wall, and literally a clean slate. Like it is a blank canvas there behind you. Somebody could come in and do some artwork, and away you go for the 2025-26 season. So just something to consider.
Yeah, I don't know about painting a mural exactly. I think I like the backdrop idea better, but it would be fun.
Just listening to you guys, and look, you could go on for days with examples, but like Tom Brady had some success in, you mentioned Boston as a basketball market. It's just one of the great sports towns in the United States. And Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were able to rise above and continually have success. The Dallas Cowboys, think about the coverage of a team like the Dallas Cowboys in the state of Texas, playing that sport, and they've won championships through the years as well. It goes on and on. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens for all those years as well. I know that that wasn't in the social media age, but you're telling me French and English and the media coverage, the demands on the players then. Look, everybody's looking for an excuse for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like we're told repeatedly that you learn from your mistakes and you learn from hardship, and it builds character. Like those guys should have so much character coming out their ears by now. It is remarkable. And what struck me on Sunday night, guys, was they looked totally spooked and completely unready to play. Like Florida had the first 8 shots, but it was I think 25 shot attempts in that hockey game. Like, how is that possible? You absolutely crapped the bed at home in Game 5. You found a way to get this thing back to home for Game 7, and then that was the response. And so, not going to find any sympathy from me here for the Toronto Maple Leafs and where they go from here. It's going to be fascinating to watch from an arm's length. Of course, our focus is on what's happening here, and it's going to be an interesting offseason as well for the Vancouver Canucks. But running it back again for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that doesn't seem like it would be a terribly productive plan.
To continue on the theme of the playoffs, we now have the conference final matchups in the East and West set up. I think the one in the West is probably a little bit more interesting and exciting. Funny also that it's a rematch and 3 of the 4 conference finalists are the same as last year. Do you think the Stars, now that they have Mikko Rantanen, can take down the Oilers this time? How do you look at that series?
Look, I've been all in on the Dallas Stars really for much of the season, and then they went out and they made the Mikko Rantanen trade, and I was like, oh my God, like these guys, last year it was Tanev. They've been a good team, and they've been willing to be aggressive and make trades and bring in better players to help the hockey club. And yet, the last 2 games, the game in Winnipeg that sent it back to Dallas, and then the game the other night, I wasn't terribly inspired by the Stars. Now, they won in overtime, and they advanced, and they get a few days off here, and they'll be ready to go. They should be hungry and motivated because they lost to the Oilers last year. I think I picked them to win last year, and they didn't get it done. But I don't know. As much as I've liked the Dallas Stars for the entire season, these last couple of games, I was left wanting more. And it's so obvious that Jason Robertson's not 100%. I mean, lots of guys are playing through things, but when we're looking at guys that haven't really left an impact, like Matthew Tkachuk really hasn't done much for the Panthers, and we know that he was banged up and missed a lot of time. That comes with the territory at this stage of the season. If Robertson can get healthier and be more of an impact player, look out. As it is, we look at the Vancouver. I try to watch the playoffs through a Canucks lens, and people here will say, look at the Canucks top 3 on defense, Quinn and Hronek, and now you got Marcus Pettersson. And then I look at the Dallas Stars and I think, Heiskanen, Harley, and Lindell, that's a big 3 that you're building around on the back end. With those 3 guys, one of them can be on the ice the entire game, essentially, if you want to run your defense that way. So, I give them an edge in goal with Ottinger and the way that he played, particularly in the last series. They're starting at home. We'll see if they can make that stand up. I don't know if this is an anti-Edmonton stance, but yeah, I think I picked Dallas to win last year and they didn't get it right, so I'm going to stick with them. but we know what Connor and Leon can do on any given night. And of course, this year, Oilers looking a whole lot deeper, and it's not just a two-man team. And if they get Ekholm back, how much does that help them as well? So really looking forward to it. I like that matchup. I think stylistically, it's going to be a fun series to watch. And with the backstory of recent history as well, we always say that's where rivalries are built. There should be some bad blood early, I would think. So, yeah, bring it on. Looking forward to the Stars and the Oilers.
Rick Tocchet was on Donnie and Dolly earlier today. We're going to talk about that interview later in our show, but I wanted to get a reaction to Tocchet coming out and basically saying, yeah, I think the direct quote was, I'd be lying if I said the practice facility didn't have something to do with it, which we kind of knew was the case, especially when he was gushing about the Flyers practice facility at his first media conference as the Flyers head coach. But what did you make of that?
I got a kick out of Donnie asking him if he was doing the interview from the practice facility in Philadelphia. He laughed at that as well. It was funny because he talked in circles right off the hop when he was asked point blank about why you left Vancouver. And he buttered up the Canucks and said all sorts of nice things, but he really didn't shed an awful lot of light in the actual reasons other than he wanted a reset and a change at this stage of his life. I think we understand a lot of the reasons for the decision that he made. But on the practice facility, like I sort of feel like I've said everything that I got to say. They need one. It's just the price of doing business in today's National Hockey League. And if you don't have one, and they're one of only two teams that don't right now, you're falling behind. And whether it's having a couple of sheets of ice so that you can, know for sure that your injured players are going to have a place to skate and rehab, while at the same time you've got a full sheet for your team to practice. You saw the way Rick Tocchet used multiple sheets at training camp in Penticton. But beyond the sheets of ice, it's more of a clubhouse and a hangout. It's just a safe space for the players. It's the lounge. It's a kitchen to prepare meals. It's the medical facilities, the weight room. It's, a video theater, essentially, all those types of things that they go to UBC. They have to pack up and shove into all these tiny little dressing rooms out there. Are they still able to practice? Sure they are, but it's just not up to NHL standards. So, the Flyers are on a long list of teams that have these incredible facilities. If people haven't had an opportunity to check them out themselves or to see video of them, I when I was out there traveling just before the pandemic, and Harm, you've been out on the road and I'm sure seen the Canucks practice and some of these visiting, like Vegas has an amazing one. Detroit's is probably, to me, Detroit's is still the coolest because it's underground. The practice facility is a floor below the game rink, but the Wings can use their own locker room. They turn right to go to the main ice. They turn left to go to the practice sheet. They take an elevator or down some stairs, and they've got this full little mini rink with seats for probably 1,000 people. But just think of how the Canucks training staff has to pack everything up in vans and get it to UBC. A team like Detroit, they're using their same locker room, all of the back of house facilities, and they just would make life so much easier and better to, treat the injuries and the therapy and all that kind of stuff for the players. So we're going to keep talking about it until we hear that there's going to be a shovel in the ground and that, they've purchased a plot of land and all that kind of stuff. So the storyline's not going away. But you just wonder the opportunity cost here, like how much is it hurting the Vancouver Canucks because they don't have this practice facility?
Jeff, this was a question from a regular listener of our show, Travis Wall. He said, I was curious roughly what the amount of times the Canucks practiced at UBC during the NHL season was. You were at all the practices. If I was going to guess, I would say it's between 10 to 20. I don't know which number it's closer to, or even if I'm way off, what's your guess? Like, how many times did the Canucks practice at UBC this year?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair number. And so people would say, well, that's only 20 occasions. Fair enough. It's not 50 or 100. But there's also the summer component, in terms of if you had guys in town or they wanted to come back town early, you could make sure that you had ice ready for them. So it's not just the 15 to 20 practices. Look, the Canucks are in the business. The Canucks as an organization and the business are in the business of making money. And so concerts are lucrative, right? You rent out your building and somebody just comes in and puts on a show and they leave. You're not paying their salaries. You're getting a cut of everything. All the beer and popcorn and hot dogs that are sold, that's right into your pocket. So the Aquilines like putting concerts through their building. I understand that. And then you got the Warriors and they need their floor down. And so that's another tenant that bumps them. And so, yeah, it's a busy facility. And it's just another reason why at the end of the day, they need their own practice place.
I'll be honest, I never once, when I got into this industry thought we'd be spending this much time talking about practice facilities. It's actually kind of wild. To shift to Abby, 1-1 in the series so far with the Colorado Eagles. They won game 1, courtesy and Artur Shilov shutout, lost game 2. What have you seen in that series so far?
Yeah, Colorado responded as you figured they would. Full credit to them. They came out and punched Shilovs and the Canucks in the face 2 minutes into game number 2. They hadn't been shut out all season. And so they're not used to this. They're the highest scoring team in the American Hockey League. And full credit to Abbotsford. And Shilovs was good. Game 1 was scoreless until 5 minutes to go in the second period. And then Abby scored on a power play. I've got a column up at Canucks Army right now. The thrust is, and look, Abbotsford's done well. Like they're, 1-1 tie here. Now they head out on the road, but they're into the third round of the playoffs. But they've been doing it on the back of goaltending. And the depth of this hockey club, I think 15 different guys have scored at least once, but in their last 3 games, they have 7 goals, and 2 of them are into an empty net. So 3 power play goals and 2 5-on-5 goals. It kind of feels like Colorado's into this series now. They scored 5 the other night, and they go back home now where they're the best team in the American Hockey League all year on home ice and the highest scoring team. I think Abbotsford's going to have trouble winning games 2-0 or 2-1. They need some guys to step up. Like Sammy Blais, we've talked about him a lot. He hasn't scored since the opening round, and all 3 of his goals have come on the power play. So at even strength, like there really hasn't been a huge contribution from Blais. Arshdeep Bains hasn't scored yet in the playoffs. They're 9 games in. This guy led Abbotsford in scoring during the regular season. Lekermacki, it was good to see him score his first the other day, but that's his first to the playoffs. On and on it goes. Like Linus Karlsson leads the team with 4 goals in the playoffs, 4 goals in 9 games. You think, okay, that's not a terrible pace. But he scored in each of the first 2 games against Tucson way back when, and then has scored in the last couple of games, 1 into an empty net and 1 on a power play. So 5-on-5 offense has been an issue, and I think even Manny Malhotra would tell you that. I just thought that Colorado stepped up, and that's what playoffs are all about. It's adjustments, it's responses. They didn't want any part of going back home down 2-0. Even though they're the best team on home ice, like that's still a big ask. So it was a massive win for Colorado the other night. I thought Abbotsford made some mistakes, and quite frankly, Artur Shilov, you can't bank on him having a shutout every game. It just kind of felt like that for a little while. But even those 2-0 wins, that puts a lot of pressure on your goaltender. And he was good, but he wasn't very good on Sunday. And he had the one that banked in off him from the corner, in an opportune time for a bad goal. It was a 1-1 tie at the time. So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to bounce back, but they're going to have to bounce back. And they know now that they've got to win 2 of 3 in a building that hasn't been kind to visitors. And so if they're going to win this series, I certainly think the blueprint would be to get the game on Wednesday night, get back in front. If you go down 2-1 and then you're backed into a corner, that's going to be a massive ask. So let's see what happens. But I would just say a little bit more from a few more of the top end guys. That's what I would like to see from the Abbotsford Canucks, rather than relying on a 16th and a 17th different guy to get you 1 goal. I'd like a few of your stars to really step up. And Arshdeep Bains is the guy that I look at. I know he can be better, and quite frankly, he has to be now if they're going to extend their season.
Jeff, I know injury updates are very hard to come by in the AHL, especially the AHL playoffs. We have a listener just asking where Atu Ratu is. Do we have any knowledge of that?
None whatsoever. And that is the sort of disappointing and frustrating part is he got hurt in the Coachella Valley Series game 2, left and hasn't been seen since, hasn't been at practices. I'd be surprised if he's out on the road, but I don't know that. And again, that's where it comes back to injury updates. He might be ready to go, and we just don't know that either. He hadn't been terribly productive. He had been a little disappointing and underwhelming in the games that he had played here in the playoffs, but he makes them better, obviously, and in all situations. So they certainly would welcome him back if they can get him. I'm at a point now, guys, where I'm wondering, is this the kind of injury that is going to impact his summer training? Like, this is what we just don't know. And so this could be a long-term thing. Manny kind of laughed when he was asked for an update, and he just said everybody's day-to-day at this stage. He wasn't going to get into it. But there's really been nothing. And so maybe it is something worth looking into a little bit more here, because if the Canucks don't get past Colorado, their season is done, you hope that it's not a kind of injury that is going to hold Atu Ratu back, because we know that opportunity's knocking for him at the big league level here. You'd love for him to have the kind of summer that he needs to take his best shot at cracking the roster out of training camp.
Adam Foote's team. This is actually our first chance to talk to you since the Canucks announced Adam Foote as head coach of the team. It seems like it was a long time ago, but it was just last week, and we haven't talked to you since. Just your reaction to that decision.
Look, I thought Manny was the guy for the job. Even though he's only had this year as a head coach in professional hockey, he's done a nice job down in Abbotsford. I kind of felt that he was the front runner. It sounds like Adam Foote interviewed really well. I know that Darren Dreger has said that he felt like Foote impressed them so much that basically won himself the job, talked his way into it. I understand the continuity. I understand the Quinn Hughes angle to all of it. But it's one thing for Quinn to like Adam Foote as the good cop assistant coach. Like, does the dynamic change at all with Adam calling the shots and spending less time around the defenseman exclusively? So, I think it's important to keep Quinn happy. And we know that the next couple of seasons certainly are going to impact the future, short and long term, for the Vancouver Canucks when it comes to Quinn Hughes and his decision to stay here. So I think it's important they took that into account. But I also think it's a team game, and you can't cater to one guy, even if that one guy means the world to the organization. So I'm willing to give Adam Foote a chance. It's a unique hire, and as much as his head coaching experience amounted to 1 year and one sort of dysfunctional and disappointing season, parts of two, in Kelowna, and you talk to people around the Western Hockey League, like, they weren't terribly impressed with the work that he did as a head coach. But, I hope he learned from it. I hope he has grown from it. We heard him the other day. I thought he came prepared with the answers to the questions that were posed. That said, that might be the easiest day. You're brand new, you're trotted out, everything's great, optimism abounds. He's got his work cut out for him. And I'm really curious about the assistants that they're going to bring in to work with him. I do hope that, and I kind of feel strongly that he's the kind of guy that probably needs somebody with NHL head coaching experience, a veteran voice, somebody that's been through the battles here. That to me feels like it would be the right sort of fit. And if it's somebody that can focus on offense and the power play, so much the better. But no, I'm willing to give him an opportunity, in the fact that he was here and is familiar with the operation, both good and bad. I would imagine that will help him. But I still feel like, without knowing his roster entirely, he's going to rely on management to go out there and fill some significant holes. And then he's going to have his work cut out for him.
Going back to Abby for a second, you mentioned Lekkerimäki finally breaking through with his first goal of the playoffs recently. How has he looked overall, even outside of that goal? Do you feel like he's building towards something? Does he look more dangerous offensively? And for a couple of the youngsters on the back end, how have those guys performed in your mind?
Yeah, it's been a tough go, Harm, for Lekkerimäki, just the grind of playoff hockey, even at the American Hockey League level. I think you're reminded of why guys like Sammy Blais and Jujhar Khaira are able to excel. Like, they're big bodies that have been through the battles at the NHL level and now here in the American Hockey League. Jason Megna still going strong on the other side for Colorado. So, yeah, you'd like a rookie to step up and do his thing. That said, there's still a lot of learning. And Lekkerimäki hasn't been terribly involved. We haven't seen a lot of the shot. I mean, the goal was nice off face-off. If people haven't seen it, he jumps his man, gets to the inside, and pounces on a loose puck and was able to snap it home. And he had an assist as well. So he was in on 2 of the 3 goals. I don't want to sound like I'm down on him. I hope that's a jumping on point for him in terms of his production moving forward. But, there's been lots of battles where you kind of would like to see a little bit more. And he got absolutely hammered on a hit by one of the Colorado defensemen, went in on the forecheck and just got rocked. And fortunately was able to pop back up and, carry on. So that was a good sign there. But yeah, I think he's finding the rigors of playoff hockey pretty difficult for his first go around. And so, when we think of this is a guy that a lot of people are penciling in, or maybe even in ink, to fill Brock Besser's spot and score 30 goals, like, that feels like a reach at this stage right here, right now. As for defenseman, Mancini's been terrific at the American Hockey League level. I know you guys had a good visit with him not that long ago. He looks like a different player at that level. The confidence, the play that he made, the anticipation, the read, and the reaction to break up the play when Colorado was pressing for the equalizer with the goal he pulled the other night, and then races up ice and scores into an empty netter. Like, that was a big time goal. So impressive stuff there. Kirill Kudryavtsev continues to impress. Like, there's just, the well-rounded game for a young guy in his first season of professional hockey. Certainly hasn't looked overwhelmed. When teams are swarming on the forecheck, he's got the calm presence there to either skate the puck out of trouble or, that first pass to move it up ice. So I've been impressed with both those guys, and that's a good sign for this Abbotsford team. But, I come back to this idea of veterans, like guys like Guillaume Brisebois and Akito Hirose. They've been terrific. And, as much as you'd like to develop young players, ultimately Abbotsford's trying to win hockey games. And so if it means that veterans carry the day and are the best players on the ice, nobody in the Abbotsford organization is going to complain about that. It's whatever it takes to get the job done. So, they've done a nice job. They're going to have their hands full now, moving on out on the road. Colorado got the split it was looking for. But among some of those young guys defensively, I think those Kudryavtsev and Mancini probably a little bit more than Jonathan Lecker-Mackey to this point have been the guys that have caught my attention.
All right, series is deadlocked. We're going to find a winner soon. You can read about it at CanucksArmy.com, and of course you can catch Jeff on Rinkwide. Just Rinkwide. You can catch Jeff on Rinkwide after every Abbotsford Canucks games, along with Canucks Army's day.
Back at it Wednesday. It's kind of lost in the long weekend here. I keep thinking I got a few more days, but no, it's Tuesday, so we'll be back at it tomorrow night.
Have you started to think about your plan if this goes to Game 5 and you have a 2 p.m. start?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do what I always do. I'll watch it. I probably won't be watching Convo that afternoon because I'll have my attention focused on, and there might be a few others. Give you a heads up there, but hey, maybe Abby takes this thing in 4 and we don't have to worry about any of that.
There you go. Jeff, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it as always.
All right, guys.
There he is, Jeff Paterson, who wrote something about the Abbotsford Canucks today at Canucks Army.